there is something so inherently abusive about how people are being treated
by the government.
They are, and particularly in a society that wouldn't consider itself particularly Christocentric. And it is, I am actually thankful, to your point, to see a degree of, we're not going to let this abuse continue, even if it's nothing more than using our freedom of speech to say something that's very vulgar and attach it to him. We're not taking it anymore.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
When I started teaching, I was only 25. I was only 7 years older than my students. That's not a great span of time between a man and a young woman, and it is a daily distraction.
That's right. It is. I thank you for your honesty. That is exactly right. And it is not his fault. He's built that way. It's no more his fault than food is a distraction to the hungry. Okay? There is no difference between the two.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dennis Prager. You have no idea what's going on in Europe, so I'm bringing it to your attention. You might recall last month I spoke to a young Austrian man whom I met at this conference in Hungary about Austria. Now we're talking about Holland with a woman I met at this conference, a young woman, a lawyer, and one of the leading conservatives, if not the leading, in my opinion, in Holland. And I need to tell you folks, and I don't want to embarrass her, but along with her brains is great courage, which is the rarest of the traits. She's not vaccinated. There's no reason on earth a young person should get vaccinated. None. It is a crime against humanity that we have forced young people to get vaccines. More young people by far in the United States have died of drug overdose than of COVID. But that doesn't register on people's concern scale. Eva Vladingbroek, and she has a Twitter account at Eva Vlaar, V-L-A-A-R. Is that correct, Eva?
Totally correct. Yes.
Oh, good. And you should have an international following, in my opinion. I know you're going to be doing actually a podcast on PragerU this week. Is that correct?
On the 27th, I will be on with Will together for a full hour.
Well, that's wonderful. The more exposure you get, the better it is for the world. I'm telling you, I hear you tell me everything is closed in Holland. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, she means everything. Only grocery stores for food. So I'm curious, what if you are walking around, or you drive somewhere and walk with your family or with friends? Is that okay?
Yes. So in Holland, that's okay. But as you just mentioned, in another country in Europe, in Austria, that's not okay if you're not vaccinated. The young man that you were just speaking about, who's been on your show a couple of weeks ago, I saw him this weekend as well in Austria. And we were there to protest against the mandatory vaccination that has already been announced there. They're going to enforce it from the 1st of February onwards. And now in Austria, there is a lockdown for the unvaccinated. So I was actually out there on the street being illegal just by existing.
What does it mean it's mandatory? Will you be fined, jailed? What happens?
So in Austria, from the 1st of February onwards, if you are not vaccinated, you will be fined 200 euros every month. And if you don't pay those fines, or if you appeal to those fines, they're going to increase. And that is just for, existing, being not vaccinated. If you actually go out of your house, if you do things, if you try to lead a semi-normal life, then these fines are going to go up to astronomical numbers.
What age do you have to be vaccinated? What is the minimal age?
Oh, I think the minimal age right now is 12, but they're already talking about lowering it because there are vaccines now for kids from the age of 5
So
onwards.
If you are 12 years old in Austria and don't get vaccinated, you have to pay 200 euro a month?
Yeah, your parents will probably be responsible.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but you're punished. A 12-year-old.
Everybody. So
okay, so here's the 64,000 euro question. How are the Dutch people accepting this complete removal of basic rights?
Sadly, only a very small group of people is still very actively opposing this. The official numbers show that 90% of the population here in Holland has been fully vaccinated, and a lot of people have fallen for the lies that the government has told them. So a lot of them believe that we're in this lockdown right now because of the small percentage of people that is not vaccinated. And a lot of them believe that this Omicron variant that they are talking about is incredibly dangerous and deadly, which we know for a fact is not.
What do you think the ultimate reason / agenda is of the Dutch government and other European governments? Is it simple hypochondriac fear, or is there a different agenda as well?
No, it's about control. I think that this is all a way to accept, for us to sort of be warmed up to the idea of total surveillance. So the COVID passes that we were talking about, these QR codes that you have to use in order to be granted access to society, all of those are now only used for your vaccination status, but they will most definitely be used for other things as well. And this is not a conspiracy theory. The people who us, the European Commission, they're all actually very open about this. I would highly advise all of your readers or listeners who are interested in this to just Google the European Identity Project from the European Commission. It's basically a project or a plan that the European Commission has for every single European member state to enforce digital identity cards, which are basically these apps on your phone that you will use for everything. So taxes, your financial information, your medical status, all of these things will all be logged on to this one digital identity that every single person in Europe should have by the year of 2030 is the plan.
Wow. So that is why you and I believe that America remains the last best hope. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. I think that you in America have a big advantage because of the fact that you have a constitution that was written by people who understand the dangers that the government can pose to its own citizens. Here in Europe, people think that the state is here to serve us, that the state is our friend. And that is also exactly what, our constitutions reflect. We don't have a Second Amendment.
All right, hold on with that. This is one of the most important interviews I've conducted. At Eva, EVA, Vlaar, VLAAR is her Twitter name.
Streaming on Salem Now.
You're out of your mind if you think this family can pick you up every time you fall.
Every time I take one step forward, seems like I fall.
Boy, Dylan Wright came in this morning. He wants to fight you.
Never say die, gonna give it all in.
This is your opportunity to get back on your feet.
This is my time. Won't quit, I'll just be
You gotta know who it is you're fighting for. That's the fight, Bo.
I can't believe I'm saying it, that Bo Lawson can go 10 years without a competitive fight, and here he is going toe-to-toe with the world champion. No one expected this out of him.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Good. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I'm a green card holder, have been for 20 years.
Thank you. From where?
When I first, from South Africa.
Excellent. Thank you.
When I came into this country, I had to have blood tests to see that I didn't have syphilis, gonorrhea, HIV. I had to show all kinds of vaccinations. I had to show means to be able to support myself, et cetera, et cetera. So my point being is that the law is not being upheld as we understand it. And so I don't understand how they are circumnavigating the law again. I mean, obviously allowing these people into the country in the first place without proper vetting, etc., is one of the ways. But I mean, the laws are written for legal immigration. There are methods and ways of doing it. They say the system is broken.
The app. You can also watch us on Roku and Fire Stick. Salem News Channel, the antidote to the mainstream media. Yeah, you should go to the Salem News Channel. You could see Ava and all of my guests, nearly all of them now, on TV, live as I'm interviewing them. So Ava Floridingerbroek, difficult name for Americans, but this is a name you should know. I'm silent because I'm just meditating on the power of the insight that the United States today, more even than when Lincoln said we are the last best hope on earth, is the last best hope on earth. Ava, if you call for a demonstration against this staggering, I think, evil of this lockdown of everything in Holland over nothing, basically, how many people would show up?
So we've had pretty big demonstrations happen, which is not something that we're very used to here in the Netherlands. People don't really have this sort of culture or spirit of going out on the street and protest, but this has sparked some substantial protest. I would say the last one that we had were about 100,000 people out on the street.
Wait, 100,000?
Yeah, 100,000.
Well, we've in that regard, I just want to say you're way ahead of us. 100,000 people, a percentage of the Dutch population. How many people live in Holland?
There are about 18 million people in Holland.
18 million people, so 20. So we are 15 times larger than you. That would mean 1,500,000 Americans demonstrated, just to give people an idea of how many came to that. But it makes no impact, does it? Is that correct?
No, because the mainstream media, of course, will never report on these figures.
Are you really? They don't report on it? Wow.
No, of course, no. They lie openly about the number of people that come. So, you know, we have our own counters, of course, people that are going to see with helicopters how many people actually come to these protests. But the mainstream media will always just either say that it's half the number of people that is actually there, or they'll just say a couple of thousands. So they lie by omission often. They genuinely lie. And they do that, of course, because they don't want people to think that there is an actual resistance to this.
All right. So listen, people can contact you at Eva, E-V-A, Vlar, V-L-A-A-R, correct?
Correct.
I hope they do. Well, this is only your debut on the Dennis Prager Show. I can't tell you how much I'm grateful for your existence.
Well, and I can tell you how grateful I am for yours. And also how grateful I am that you will have me on here, because what we're dealing with right now is of such a huge importance.
Exactly.
We're not talking about hurt feelings here. We're talking about actual legal
All right.
institutions.
Bless you, Eva.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you. Bless you too.
Miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime. I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Have you ever thought of going to seminary?
Billy Graham.
Gloria a Dios, hermanos. ¿Quién está listo para ser transformado por el poder de su palabra?
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Out of your mind if you think this family can pick you up every time you fall.
Every time I take one step forward, seems like I fall.
Boy, Dylan Wright came in this morning. He wants to fight you.
Never say die, gonna give it all.
This is your opportunity to get back on your feet.
This is my time. Won't quit, I'll just be.
You gotta know who it is you're fighting for. That's the fight, Bo.
I can't believe I'm saying it, that Bo Lawson can go 10 years without a competitive fight, and here he is going toe-to-toe with the world champion. No one expected this out of him.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Good. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I'm a green card holder, have been for 20 years.
Thank you. From where?
When I first, from South Africa.
Excellent. Thank you.
When I came into this country, I had to have blood tests to see that I didn't have syphilis, gonorrhea, HIV. I had to show all kinds of vaccinations. I had to show means to be able to support myself, et cetera, et cetera. So my point being is that the law is not being upheld as we understand it. And so I don't understand how they are circumnavigating the law again. I mean, obviously allowing these people into the country in the first place without proper vetting, etc., is one of the ways. But I mean, the laws are written for legal immigration. There are methods and ways of doing it. They say the system is broken, but it's not broken. It functions.
Greg, I am deeply in your debt. Stay where you are because I've got a couple of questions for you, but just an addendum to your magnificent remarks. The system is not broken. We totally have a system that is set up to work if the laws that are on the books will only be enforced. But that's a huge if, and they are being intentionally ignored. So 20 years you've been here, right? And as someone who's actually followed the law, share with me a couple of minutes of your experience on whether it was too easy, too hard, or just right.
I think it was just right.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
The Democratic Party somehow has convinced black people that they're the good guys. Never mind the skanky history of the Democratic Party. That was a party of slavery.
He said, listen, I gotta give these niggas enough. Not too much, but enough that I have them voting Democrat for the next 200 years.
The race grievance industry would have you believe that blacks get up and think about nothing else except race.
If I tell you this is racist, yeah, I would get you emotional.
There is a whole big cottage industry for racism. If racism went away, a lot of people would be unemployed.
The mob during the Minneapolis riots following the death of George Floyd. A bunch of white thugs, frankly, burning down the city's traditional black and Asian business district.
They're racist, 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 racist. Everything's racist.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Fiance? No, I can't be your fiance.
You're gonna go. You're gonna be my fiance, and you're gonna be the most amazing, fascinating, most successful man ever. We're only gonna be there for a few hours, eat dinner, and I promise we'll have the best breakup of all time.
My baby, my princess. Oh, yeah.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
When there is a clash on the left between separate preferred activist groups, who gets preference? Who wins? Now, on the left, they have a hierarchy, not any different than a hierarchy that you would have in any sort of organization. You see, when the left has a moment of disagreement or conflict, it is very important to realize that there is a structure of what matters more than something else. I wrote a piece for humanevents.com where I wrote, it was literally called, "This Matters More Than That." Now, a great example of this is when Fauci, the lockdown artist, the anti-freedom activist, mad scientist, who is
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Dennis Prager. If you missed the last segments of my first hour, are they viewable once they've been done? Is it possible to see it, or is that Prager? They rerun the program in the entirety, all 3 hours? But of course with commercials, but you can get everything on Pragertopia without commercials, which you should do. Every hour, if an hour I do is not important, I don't do it. It's simple as that. I regard every hour as sacred, a sacred opportunity to touch your mind and life. I had this young woman on, this lawyer, who's a woman of courage, beauty, intelligence, extraordinary human being. What she described in Holland, everything, do you understand, folks? Everything is closed. Every store, every restaurant. Only grocery stores are open. Over what? Omicron? It is either a staggering, unwarranted fear of a nation of cowards or a government of cowards, which I think that's true, or a bigger agenda to start people on the road to electronic passports. That's why Brussels and the continent is so angry at Britain. Britain may not end up that way because of Brexit. The left wants to control your life, ladies and gentlemen. If you deny that, you are lying to yourself, and there is little hope for you. I hope you're only lying to others, because if you lie to yourself, it's a very difficult quicksand to lift yourself out of. The left wants to control you and everyone. The virus has been the greatest gift to the left. Why is this not obvious? That's what is amazing to me. Why is it not obvious? The world is divided between many things. The first thing that comes to my mind are drivers who drive slowly in the left lane and those who do not. But there's a bigger difference. Those who wish to control others and those who do not. Every one of you knows people, virtually every one of you, knows somebody in your family or extended family who loves to control people. Right? How many people go to a therapist and speak of a controlling parent? I must say, neither my parents nor I were controlling parents. It's an interesting subject, isn't it? Your parents were not controlling, were they? How about you, Mr. Peruvian? No? Parents were not controlling? It's it'd be an interesting subject for maybe a happiness hour. The effects of a controlling parent on children. But we have a controlling party, a national party that is a controlling parent. And in Europe, isn't it amazing, the collapse of Europe? I have warned so often the end of the Judeo-Christian value system, which has ended in Europe after World War I and really was buried after World War II. So what did we get after World War I with the collapse of Christianity? As I so often tell you, fascism, Nazism, and communism. And what are we getting now? Totalitarianism. And staggering irrational fear. It's irrational. People should be celebrating Christmas, not locked down in their house. What does an elderly person, what does a widow or widower do in their home in Holland now? What do? They can't go anywhere. Their life support is taken from them. They can eat. They can sleep. And they can eat and they can sleep. I have a motto for my own life. What is it? I put it well the other day, and I don't remember what I said, but I know the point that I want to make. I rather live well than live long. That is why I lived a full life during the entire lockdown. I went to rallies and hugged people for which I have been so mocked. I lived as full a life as possible in the last 2 years. I went with 15 friends every Friday night from the second week or the third week at the most of the lockdown last February or March, whatever it was, for Shabbat dinner, Sabbath dinner. If the only difference in my life was that there was no traffic when I went there. Fear is the vehicle to totalitarianism, not ideology. Fear. That's another division of humanity, between the frightened and the less frightened. Count me in the less frightened. 100,000 young people, almost all young people, died of overdose on drugs. Fentanyl is so much more an enemy of young people than COVID. You despicable leaders at the CDC. Fauci is a despicable human being. I've come to hate this man, and I almost never speak that way. And it took a long time. It's the first time I've said it. I hate that man. He has injured staggering numbers of people. His legacy is death. Tony Fauci's legacy is mass death of Americans. That's his only legacy. And the left loves him. Because everything the left believes is wrong. Everything. There's a civil war in this country, as I said 20 years ago. But they're shocked. I used to say there's a civil war in this country, but only one side is fighting. That's not true anymore. We're fighting. Florida is fighting. Florida has become no longer a swing state. Florida is a conservative state. How's that? Hispanics are becoming more and more conservative as they open their eyes to the evil of the left. The evil is scummy, and they're learning it. There's no built-in constituency except for Jews and blacks. It's the only built-in constituency for the left wing. And a third of Jews are not on the left. It's not insignificant, by the way. And even that may change. And even the blacks may change. The black left has done such injury to blacks that they will have to face their creator one day. Of that, I am certain. Well, that's the state. You want to know America's future if the left wins? Look at Holland. Look at Austria. With all our lockdowns and all our mandates, we are so much freer than almost any Western country. Isn't that amazing? People don't realize that. Look at Canada, a wasteland, a moral wasteland. What does Canada stand for? Same thing Holland and Austria stand for. The private citizens of the right to live a full life. 1-8 776.
Schools are lining up to push the transgender agenda on kids and cut parents out of the equation.
Go to salemnow.com.
I grew up poor, which is even worse than being poor. We would have sandwiches with no meat. My American dream entailed working hard and making $20,000 a year. But I surpassed that goal and became a corporate CEO.
We'll all be able to say,
Free at last! Free at last!
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
The only time you can consecrate when the
You ever thought of going to seminary?
por el poder de su palabra.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
The Democratic Party somehow has convinced black people that they're the good guys. Never mind the skanky history of the Democratic Party. That was a party of slavery.
They're racist, racist, racist. Everything's racist.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Tesla was a genius. His most amazing discoveries thought to be written in a lost journal. Now, in the right hands, it could revolutionize the 21st century.
You can stop an earthquake. Doesn't that mean you could start one too?
That's why that notebook should never fall into the wrong hands.
Shall we stop this thing?
Save the universe!
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Judge Thomas, you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
I was under constant attack. You're not really black because you're not doing what we expect black people to do. This is the wrong black guy. He has to be destroyed.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
This is a story of how 1 million children were placed with local foster families. Parents from all walks of life share their stories of overcoming the one-child policy by taking in orphans. At a time where there's so much negativity and cynicism, here's proof that a single leap of faith can change the world.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
How buoyed are you that Americans are finally waking up, JD?
Look, I'm very excited about what I'm seeing. Certainly in Virginia, but also in Ohio. It feels like there's a real grassroots movement brewing on the conservative movement right now. And it's, just like in times past, it's not just the politicos, it's not just the establishment folks. Sometimes not even people who are that political, but they're just very fired up about what their kids are teaching. Their kids are coming home crying, upset because they're
Hi, everybody. There are a handful of truly distinctive voices that you can't mistake. Elvis is one of them. Now you'll tell me it's not Elvis, but it is, correct?
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Yeah. Hey, folks, it's 4 days away from Christmas. How would you like to do something beautiful, contribute to the Angel Tree campaign? I have already raised on this show what I promised Angel Tree, or Salem promised Angel Tree I would raise, but that's irrelevant. The issue is we can help more kids get a gift from a parent in prison. It's a very beautiful campaign. It's a Christian group, and I'm proud as a Jew to be helping them because they're doing such good work. So just go to the banner for the Angel Tree campaign at my website and contribute. I promise you will feel better about yourself. Charity is a very funny thing. Very few people want to give it, and the second they give it, they're thrilled that they did. It's very interesting. I see it in myself. The end of the year, I make sure I meet a certain amount of charity giving. All right, everybody. That's the banner for Angel Tree campaign. And they have a phone number, too. And that phone number is 888-206-2801, 888-206-2801. Wow. Very interesting calls. Let's take a challenge. I always enjoy that. Well, sometimes, if they're coherent. John in Chicago, go ahead. Hi.
Hello, sir. You just said something. I listen to you a lot. I've listened to you a lot. And you just said something I really agree with. You said that fear is the gateway to totalitarianism. And like anyone who listens to your show regularly, as I do, I know that you endlessly tell your audience they should fear the monolithic left, the communists and socialists and transgender people and illegal immigration and medical science and climate science and, of course, universities and nothing more than the diabolical liberal media monolith. So I agree with you that, while you do all that...
So is my agenda totalitarian? You're right, I do. I can't stand everything you mention. Now answer me, why is that a road to totalitarianism? I'm fighting totalitarianism.
Because while you endlessly peddle fear of all those things, you almost never mention the diabolical ongoing effort by the Republican Party to destroy our constitutional electoral process that unfolded right before our eyes and continues now.
It continues now. How is that exactly? How is the Republican Party undermining the constitutional right to elect a president or anyone else? By doing what?
Sir, what?
No, don't answer me with a question. Please answer me with an answer. What is the Republican Party doing?
Because Republicans have absolutely no desire to inform the American people about the realities of what the Trump regime attempted to do on January 6th when they attempted to destroy a constitutional electoral process before our eyes.
If you'd have called my show on January 5th, would you have said the Republicans are undermining democracy?
On January 5th?
Yeah. Anytime from January 5th and before, would you have said the same thing? So January 6th...
Sir, Donald Trump had been lying about the election being stolen for months at that point.
Right. Let's say he was lying about it. First of all, I think he believes it, but let's say he was lying about it. How exactly has American democracy been undermined? Who's president right now?
Sir, you got to be out of your mind.
Okay. If you say, listen, answer me. Who is president now?
Joe Biden was elected president.
Right. And is he president?
Yes.
Is there any movement to forcibly remove him from office? Has he been impeached 3 times?
Forcibly?
You're talking about you're defending the party that for no good reason impeached the president, tried to remove him 3 times, and you're telling me the Republicans undermine presidencies?
I understand you want to change the subject.
Why is that a change, sir?
Because you're not addressing what I pointed out to you, that Donald Trump attempted to destroy our constitutional electoral process before your eyes, and you don't talk about it.
Right. What would you like me to say?
I would like you to at least acknowledge that he did that.
No, he did not do that. He told the people to go peacefully into the Capitol. We have the video of it.
Sir, he lied. He lied for months.
Okay, the man believes
no evidence.
Okay, there is plenty of evidence. I don't know what happened. I don't know. There is plenty. If you have any intellectual honesty, you should say at the very least it's an anomaly that Joe Biden won when in the first time in American history an incumbent president received more votes than he did the first time and lost. It never happened before. So it's an anomaly. 18 of the 19 swing districts of this country that determine elections all went for Donald Trump, and he lost. That's an anomaly. You're not intellectually honest. At least acknowledge it is an anomaly that Biden won. I didn't say it was cheating. I say it's an anomaly. Are you prepared to say that?
Are you?
No. Answer me without a question. Answer me. Do you think it was an anomaly, or it makes perfect sense to you?
Sir, it makes perfect sense to me that the person who got the most votes won the election. Yes.
No. We don't. That's not the way America works. It's not a democracy. It's a republic. You should know that. The person who gets the most votes does not win the presidency. You win in the election.
Mr. Prager, will you concede?
Will I concede what?
Hello?
I didn't hang up on you. I'm waiting for you to
that
tell
in
me.
2016, when Donald Trump won the election without winning the popular vote, that was an anomaly. No one expected him to. Everyone.
No. It was not. It was not an anomaly. There was not an anomalous situation whatsoever.
Really, all the polls were wrong. All the polls were wrong, and you don't consider it an anomaly?
That's correct. I don't base it on polls. I base it on voting in districts. The anomaly with regard to the Biden victory is not about polls. It has nothing to do with polls. The polls are a farce. So it's irrelevant. The anomaly of the Biden victory is about electoral districts. It's about shutting down counting in big cities.
Allow me to ask you this then. Anomalous, I believe it was an anomaly. Does that justify a violent attempt to try to destroy our electoral process?
All right, look, okay, I put you on for a great amount of time. You on the left wildly exaggerate what happened on January 6th. It was a stupid, meaningless attack on the Capitol. That's all it was. Okay? That's all it was. I never supported it. I thought it was foolish, and that's the end of it. It is the Reichstag fire used by the Nazis to gain power is what the left does with the January 6th events.
The Democratic Party somehow has convinced black people that they're the good guys. Never mind the skanky history of the Democratic Party. That was a party of slavery.
They're racist. Everything's racist.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Tesla was a genius. His most amazing discoveries thought to be written in a lost journal. Now, in the right hands, it could revolutionize the 21st century.
You can stop an earthquake. Doesn't that mean you could start one too?
That's why that notebook should never fall into the wrong hands.
Shall we stop this thing?
Save the universe!
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Judge Thomas, you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
I was under constant attack. You're not really black because you're not doing what we expect black people to do. This is the wrong black guy. He has to be destroyed.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
This is a story of how 1 million children were placed with local foster families. Parents from all walks of life share their stories of overcoming the one-child policy by taking in orphans. At a time where there's so much negativity and cynicism, here's proof that a single leap of faith can change the world.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
How buoyed are you that Americans are finally waking up, JD?
Look, I'm very excited about what I'm seeing. Certainly in Virginia, but also in Ohio. It feels like there's a real grassroots movement brewing on the conservative movement right now. And it's, just like in times past, it's not just the politicos, it's not just the establishment folks. Sometimes not even people who are that political, but they're just very fired up about what their kids are teaching. Their kids are coming home crying, upset because they're being told that they're a bad person depending on the color of their skin, and they're just fed up about it. And I think it may very well take down Terry McAuliffe, but I certainly think it is the beginning of a movement all across this country that's going to take down a lot of Democrats all over the nation.
In the break, we were talking to my team here, and somebody said, "Well, it's neck and neck, and if Glenn loses by 3 points, that's a big deal in any other normal election." And here's the reaction I have, JD. There is no such thing as a normal election after 2016. Do we have any faith that there will be a normal election? Talk to us about the recent breaking news about Facebook and the censorship of conservatives. You've written a piece about it. How do we get back to quote unquote normal, JD?
Oh man, we got a lot of work to do. Facebook did two things basically in the 2020 election, one of which we've known about for a while. They basically censored information that was negative about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. They promoted information that was negative about Donald Trump. And I really believe that swung the election in a really important way.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
You called your son. You personally promised him you would be here.
Lucas, I don't know how to...
I kept that man on. I take every call that I could see that differs with me, and sometimes I keep them on long, like the last one. Just one reflection on it. This is what the left does. Just like the fascists. While they accumulate more and more power and restrict more and more rights of Americans and monitor us more and more, they keep talking about the Reichstag fire, which for the American left is January 6th, and say that Donald Trump was an authoritarian and not totalitarian, they call dictator. Of course, that's what they are. But this is what communists have done since Vladimir Lenin. Look at the other side, scream enough so that there is enough fog while they take over everything. Look at what they have done to the schools. You want to know what they've done to the schools? Listen to this. Oregon teaches kindergartners to develop understanding of their gender. Oregon's new social science standards are now integrated with ethnic studies and require kindergartners to become indoctrinated in identity politics, including, quote, an understanding, unquote, of their own gender, unquote. The state's 2021 social science standards integrated with ethnic studies now include a civics and government standard for 5-year-olds that require them to, here are the words of the Oregon social science standards, okay? Develop an understanding of one's own identity groups, including but not limited to race, gender, family, ethnicity, culture, religion, and ability. Really? Race? Let's talk about your race, because that's important to the left, because the left is the largest racist movement in America today. The only analog would be Jim Crow and the Ku Klux Klan in the past. Today it is the Democratic Party and the left. It is purely racist. They believe that your color is important. That is the essence of racism. It's what Nazis believed about Jews. That is what the South Africans believed in apartheid. And that is what the Americans in the South believed during Jim Crow. Your race is significant. Gender, family, ethnicity, culture, religion, ability, and the left's continued focus on historically marginalized identity groups continues in Oregon's geography standards. Kindergartners are now required to, in the words of Oregon's social science standards, examine culturally significant traditions, celebrations, days, and places, including those from cultures that are currently and historically marginalized. To develop their historical thinking skills, Oregon kindergartners are now required to make connections identifying similarities and differences, including race, ethnicity, culture, disability, and gender between self and others. Now, how's this? Ethnic studies. Quote, the instruction of public school students in kindergarten through grade 12 in the histories, contributions, and perspectives of individuals who are Native Americans or Americans of African, Asian, Pacific Island, Chicano, Latino. Oh, they didn't say Latinx. Wow. They got the word that Latinos think it's ridiculous to call them Latinx or Latinx, which is what the New York Times does, by the way. It also includes the histories, contributions, and perspectives of the women, people with disabilities, immigrants, refugees, and individuals who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. Do you think that's important? To speak about bisexual Americans' contribution to America? Tell me, do you think that is important? Why is it important? Will Tchaikovsky, if they even teach Tchaikovsky, which of course they don't in elementary school or high schools in America, most students couldn't spell his name in Harvard. But will they teach Tchaikovsky's contribution as that of a gay man? He was gay. Or is it a great man who composed great music? Do I care? I mean, if I read a biography, of course it should include that he's gay. Do I care? Why is that important? Why is that defining of Tchaikovsky? Would Tchaikovsky want himself to be known as gay or as a great composer? And gender identity is now part of it as well. Okay, y'all. ReliefFactor.com. Here's the story with Relief Factor. Tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of Americans have pain in joints or muscles, back, neck, arm, leg. There's a product that cures this pain or reduces it tremendously that is safe. It's called Relief Factor. They have a very interesting proposal. They tell you, look, it may not work, which is very honest of a maker of anything. And you'll know if it works in 3 weeks. Doesn't work, cancel your order. And for 3 weeks, it costs just $19.95 to try it out. Go to ReliefFactor.com, 800-500-8384.
The Dennis Prager Show. Live.
Streaming on Salem Now.
You called your son. You personally promised him you would be here.
Lucas, I don't know how to help you.
Your daddy loves you, you gotta know it, pal.
Prayer is a powerful thing, Ethan. It really does work, if you believe.
What reason does he have to care about some guy who's supposed to be his dad, but he's never around? I can't do it. I can't. I'm not ready for this, man.
I'm done with you.
We all deserve a second chance. Right, Ethan?
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
And also, the bill would create more than 150 new government programs at a time when the government can't even manage the programs it has on the books. It's absolutely insane. I am imploring my colleagues in swing districts, so-called blue dog Democrats, moderate Democrats, if for no other reason than I'm appealing to their own political survival instincts, walk away from this bill before it's too late. This is an incredible act of hubris on the part of the Democrats right now, and it is bad for America.
So BBB is $2 billion for tree equity, doubling the size of the IRS. And what's the third takeaway? Because you got to define a bill by its most absurd provisions. And so we've got doubling the IRS size, tree equity. What's number 3?
I think the Civilian Climate Corps is a great encapsulation.
I think you're right. And there are really 300,000 people in that?
That's what's been estimated. This is AOC's signature provision. She wants a bunch of unemployed baristas to become government-paid civilian activists running around the country doing God knows what at the taxpayer.
I mean, is it outlined? Did they tell us what the Civilian Conservation Corps is going to do?
Not in any detailed or meaningful sense. And because we haven't had a meaningful committee process, no one's even able to ask basic questions in a public setting and demand answers from, let's say, the executive branch agencies that would be in charge of overseeing these brand new programs. So the whole
I'd like to remind you, periodically I remember to tell you, I've been working on the great project of my life. It just reached, by the way, 4,000 reviews on Amazon yesterday between Genesis and Exodus. I've basically put everything that you can know about life into this work. 5 volumes. The 3rd volume is coming out next year, Deuteronomy. And it's called The Rational Bible. But I now took a year off because they didn't have the paper to publish Deuteronomy. So I've taken a year off and I produced another book. It is what is used for the Passover Seder. Many Christians now have a Seder or join Jews in a Seder. What is freedom? Why does God save people at some time and at other times not? I deal with tremendous issues and explaining the 2,000-year-old Haggadah. That is so it's called the Rational Passover Haggadah. You might want to pre-order it on Amazon. It's to be honest, it's meant to be a life changer. The Rational Passover Haggadah. You will love it. Whether you have a Seder or not is irrelevant. Whether you're a Jew or not is irrelevant. I write and talk for everybody. Oregon is poisoning children. Corvallis School Superintendent Ryan Noss, N-O-S-S, shared his views of the new standards with his school board in October 2020. And this is what he said. For the 2020-2021 school year, we will be engaging in further exploration of this work at every grade level in our district, starting with our youngest learners. This month, our K-5 kindergarten 5 students will be introduced to the concepts, ready? 5-year-olds, kindergartners. Identity, diversity, race, and racism. You have to be an idiot to send your child to an Oregon school. I'm sorry to say it, because a lot of the people who do are not idiots. But this is an act of idiocy. You must do anything. Either leave Oregon or homeschool your child, or send your child to a school that doesn't follow these standards. This work continues in social studies classes at the upper grades as we foster important conversations. I love that. It's the last thing they have is conversations. Because if you differ with it, you're shut up, you're shut down, you're told to shut up, you're isolated, you're vilified. Conversations, I love it. And create safe spaces. Let's do this rhetoric for students to make sense of the world around them. For example, we're living through one of the largest social movements in the history of our nation. To not allow students to discuss what they're seeing in the Black Lives Matter and related social movements would be a lost opportunity to engage in real-time, authentic learning. Yeah, so there you go. How about Illinois? This was this past August. The Governor Pritzker signed a sex ed bill requiring kindergartners to define gender identity. How's that? How's that working out in Illinois? Okay. I'm very curious to see what you folks have to say. Gina in Naples, Florida, one of my favorite places. Hello.
Hi, Dennis.
Hi.
I just wanted to say I agree with Ava that what's going on with these policies is indeed conditioning. And on a much larger level, I've been worried about the fact that they're doing this to us so that we will accept socialism. I mean, there's shortage of goods, no one can get a new car, high inflation, suppression of speech. And I think it's so that they're gradually acclimating everyone to full-blown Marxism. So if they ever are able to enact that in the U.S. or impose their new world order on everyone,
we would have, that's right.
Sheep.
Exactly. We would have what's going on in Holland and Austria and other countries. We would have it, or New Zealand, or Australia. But we have a very vigorous conservative movement in America, and they don't in any of those other countries. They have no talk radio, they have no Fox News, they have no Daily Wire, they have no TPUSA, they have no PragerU, nothing. That's the difference. Their conservative parties are rarely conservative. They're just, they're left-wing light. Why did they hate Britain for leaving the EU? Why? Because it was an assertion of independence. The left loathes anything that they can't control. Any country, any group. It has always been true of the left. It is true today. Mike in Johnston, Pennsylvania. Hello.
Hi, Dennis. Thank you for everything that you do for us. I just wanted to say that about the caller before, Gina in Naples. The mainstream media is called nudging everyone to have this irrational thinking of January 6th. They just keep beating it into their brains every day that Donald Trump fueled an attack on the Capitol, which isn't the case at all. I'm not going to get into that, but nudging is what they're calling it now. The mainstream media is nudging these people to think the way that they do, and if
the mainstream media is an arm of the Democratic Party, just like Pravda was an arm of the Communist Party. Back in a moment.
Streaming on Salem Now.
The public would be outraged if they knew the truth.
Why do you think our politicians are not on the sidewalk right now talking to you?
Don't have no respect.
The old wall randomly turns into a guardrail, followed by miles of open border.
Human trafficking.
That journey is extremely dangerous.
The 7-year-old girl died in the desert.
From the country of India.
A great pillar of the community was killed by a man who had been deported at least twice.
This little urn contains the ashes of my son. His dreams cut short forever.
We're so worried about other countries' problems, and we don't even focus on our own.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
This is why we're fighting for the soul of America.
You should be able to share ideas without fear of being fired from your job or shouted down.
You are not to be heard. This is one of the few things we have no precedent for in the United States.
The only way we separate the good ideas from the bad ideas is to be free to say whatever we want about them.
There's no free speech for fascists.
Your posts on Facebook, Twitter, and social media will be saved to shame you.
Creating an atmosphere of fear and repression, and it's gonna bust.
You cannot think differently.
It makes it difficult for you to learn from other people.
You have the right to remain silent.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
The public would be outraged if they knew the truth.
Why do you think our politicians are not on the sidewalk right now talking to you?
Don't have no respect.
The old wall randomly turns into a guardrail, followed by miles of open border.
Human trafficking.
That journey is extremely dangerous.
The 7-year-old girl died in the desert.
From the country of India.
A great pillar of the community was killed by a man who had been deported at least twice.
This little urn contains the ashes of my son. His dreams cut short forever.
We're so worried about other countries' problems, and we don't even focus on our own.
Boy, do we teach what isn't taught. Oh, my God. Maybe we should change that. It just occurred to me. We teach what should be taught. I'm not kidding. That's really what we're doing. All right? Let's give that very serious thought. We teach what should be taught. Chris in Stevenson, Virginia. Hi there.
Hi, Mr. Prager. It's a pleasure to speak with you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I'm so used to hearing you on rapid speed because I listen a day late, so it's good to hear you.
Oh, that's funny. Yes, you could put me on rapid speed. I don't speak that quickly, and it's deliberate, by the way.
So I wanted to call and thank you generally just for your rational thought and what you do. It's been critical over the last 2 years to balancing the hysteria that's been portrayed in the mass media and from our politicians. PragerU has been awesome for my kiddos, and my little girl jumps every time she sees all those tails come up on the screen. So I think you're doing an awesome job with that.
I love hearing that. She loves Otto Tales. That's great.
They all do. I have kids 7 to 2, so they love PragerU. The last segment really kind of defines a lot of why we left Loudoun County in the spring last year. aside from their response to the COVID outbreak. A lot of the things that you described in Oregon, maybe not to that level, but we're going down in Loudoun County. We were very lucky to have the opportunity to move a little bit west and get out of the county. That area is just generally the definition of intelligent people, very smart people, but lacking a lot of wisdom. And I do hope that it changes around. My local church is actually entertaining creating a private school because of what's going on in Loudoun County.
That's what needs to be done. That's exactly right. I'm very happy to hear from you. I wish we could talk longer. There's a lot of good stuff going on in this country. I spoke to, 5,000 young people on Sunday in Phoenix. The Turning Point USA's enormous AmFest that they call it. It was extraordinary. Tucker Carlson was there, and Candace Owens, and Kyle Rittenhouse. And my friends, I really believe there is hope, serious hope, for the forces of liberty and goodness to prevail in the United States of America. But here is something that has nothing to do with hope. Here's a fact. We remain the last best hope on earth. That's a fact. We continue.